My name's Luke Gardner, and I'm a rancher, or at least I was, before the HOA decided I was some sort of outlaw for owning goats within spitting distance of their precious cul-de-sac. I didn't ask for any of this. I never signed up to be part of their little gated empire. My ranch was here long before they ever paved the roads, planted mailboxes, or came up with rules about mailbox heights. But life's funny like that, peaceful until it ain't. See, I live just outside of Driftwood Ridge, a town most folks couldn't find on a map if their lives depended on it. It's the kind of place where the wind talks, the sky stretches on forever, and the dirt sticks to your boots in ways city folks never quite understand. I had my cattle, a few goats, a garden that mostly grew tomatoes and weeds, and one old mule named Rufus who thought he was a Labrador retriever. Ever since my wife passed 5 years ago, it's just been me and the animals, quiet, slow, and full of small joys. That all changed the day the city expanded, and the developers rolled in like it was Manifest Destiny 2.0. One morning, I woke up to find stakes in the ground, orange flags flapping in the wind, and bulldozers parked less than a mile from my back pasture. By sundown, the fences were up. They called it Whispering Pines, a planned community with white fences, matching roofs, and a homeowners association hell-bent on enforcing conformity. And right at the head of it all was her Delilah Crane. Delilah was the kind of woman who smiled like she was about to fire you, who could wear 3-inch heels in the mud without sinking, and who seemed to carry an invisible crown wherever she went. President of the Whispering Pines HOA, queen of clipped lawns and passive-aggressive emails. She wasn't just nosy, she was strategic, calculated. Every interaction with her felt like a job interview. You didn't know you were failing. At first, I tried to play nice. When she showed up at my gate with a clipboard and a fake smile, I offered her lemonade. She wrinkled her nose, said it was too sweet, and asked if I could move my barn 50 feet back so it wasn't visible from the cul-de-sac. I told her the barn had been there since 1956. She replied, "Then maybe it's time for a change." After that, the letters started. Violation notices, warnings, cease and desist threats. All about things like the number of goats I had, the color of my fence, or the smell of manure in the morning. I reminded them politely at first that my land was grandfathered in, legally exempt from HOA rules. I even got a notarized letter from the county clerk confirming it. But Delilah didn't care about the law, she cared about control. Then came the cops. The first time, she claimed I was running an unlicensed farm operation. The officers apologized and left. The second time, she said she heard screaming animals and thought I was hosting dogfights. This time, the cops searched my barn, found Rufus snoring on a pile of hay, and laughed on their way out. I thought that would be the end of it. But Delilah wasn't the type to back down. She was the type to double down. One hot Wednesday, I was fixing the latch on my pasture gate. Rufus kept nudging it open and wandering into the subdivision, and suddenly 2 squad cars rolled up, lights flashing. Officers jumped out like I was El Chapo. One yelled for me to put down my tools. Another said they had reason to believe I was running an illegal animal fighting ring. I blinked, pointed to the barn, and told them to go right ahead. They did, and what they found inside made one of them stop cold. At first, I panicked until he came out holding Mr. Wiggles, a stuffed alpaca with one button I'm missing. The goats cuddle with him during storms. Another officer picked up my rusty pliers, the ones I used to trim hooves, and asked if they were the bloody weapons Delilah had reported. I told him yeah, if trimming a hoof counted as a felony now. But the damage was done. Again, the neighbors peeked through blinds. One recorded me from her car. I was tired of being painted as a villain for doing what I'd done my whole life. Then came the signs. Dozens of them, ugly and hand-painted. "This is a neighborhood, not a farm. Ban the barn. Rancher out." And at the bottom of each one, sponsored by HOA President Delilah Crane. One of them was stuck right into Rufus's favorite napping spot. That broke me a little. So I got smart. Called up a lawyer, Walter Hayes, a man who looked like he'd been carved out of oak and smelled like menthols and black coffee. He said, "Son, you've got a case of targeted harassment. Start recording everything." I did. I installed cameras, took notes, dates, times, even kept a journal. And wouldn't you know it, just a few days later, I caught Delilah red-handed spray painting a red X across my barn door at sunrise. When I stepped outside, she shouted, "This place is a health hazard. I'm protecting the children." I told her to leave. She refused. Rufus, sweet, Stubborn Rufus let out a bray that startled her so bad she tripped into my flower bed. I helped her up. She looked me dead in the eyes and said, "I'm not done with you." She meant it. 2 days later, the cops showed up again. For cars this time. She claimed I'd threatened her with weapons and was stockpiling guns in the barn. I hadn't, of course. But when the officers searched the place, they found a wooden crate under a tarp. Inside were antique replica rifles props my late father-in-law had collected and stored in my attic. I hadn't put them in the barn. Someone else had. Delilah stood outside, crying like she was in a soap opera, pointing at me like I was a terrorist. The officers took photos, logged everything, and one of them even whispered, "We've had a lot of calls from her lately." That night, I didn't sleep, but I remembered what Hayes said: keep going. Keep documenting. So I did. Until one night, just past midnight, I caught movement on my camera. A shadow at the barn. Someone trying to light a fire. I grabbed the hose, ran outside, and scared them off. Saved the animals. But the barn was scorched. The hay blackened. The footage? Erased. Someone had wiped it clean. But I had backups. And I had neighbors' real ones starting to come around. Tanya brought lemonade. Frank helped hammer up new boards. Even the cranky mailman brought screws. Folks were tired of Delilah's games. Then the restraining order came. Delilah filed it, said I was dangerous, unstable, unfit to be around humans or goats. She used photos of him holding a hammer, Rufus yawning, and said they were proof. It was ridiculous, but it was also strategic. If it passed, I couldn't go near the shared fence or the road I used for hay deliveries. So we fought back. Hayes and I gathered everything: footage, statements, receipts, the sheriff's report, even a crayon drawing from Tanya's daughter of Rufus as a superhero. The court hearing was electric. Delilah came dressed like she was attending a funeral for her reputation. Her lawyer looked like he Googled how to be a lawyer that morning. The judge didn't play games. She listened to both sides. When Hayes dropped that binder on the table, it thudded like a coffin lid. He presented it all: harassment, planted evidence, HOA abuses. The judge turned to Delilah and asked about the chemical bag with her name on the receipt, the deleted footage, the vandalism. Delilah cracked. Blamed me. Blamed the weather. Blamed everyone but herself. The judge wasn't buying it. She denied the restraining order, referred Delilah's actions to the district attorney, and called it what it was: obsession. I thought it was over. But Delilah had one last trick. The very next morning, for 12 a.m., my camera caught her again, dressed in black, dumping something near the goat pen. This time clear as day. Her face. Her car. Her license plate. The poison she tried to use. It was all there. I turned it in. And this time, the law didn't just nod, they acted. Delilah Crane was arrested 2 days later. Multiple charges. The HOA board held an emergency vote and removed her. Whispering Pines got a new president. One who showed up with muffins and shook my hand. And me? I'm still here. Still got Rufus, still got my goats. The barn's rebuilt, stronger than ever. And every now and then, I sit on the porch, sip my tea, and think about how close I came to losing it all to someone who couldn't stand the sight of a life lived differently. So if you ever wonder how far one person will go to make your life miserable, remember this. Document everything. Get a good lawyer. And never underestimate the power of one stubborn mule. Now, I want to hear from y'all. Was I right to stay and fight? Should HOA boards have this much power? And have you ever had a neighbor from hell? Drop your story in the comments, and don't forget to like and share if you believe land should belong to those who love it, not those who want to control it.